Last night, the government changed the rules around property investing in Australia. And honestly, the way this has been sold to the public right now is incredibly misleading. They are calling it as a housing reform. They are calling it as it's going to help young Australians. But when you actually look deeper into it, this feels far more like a revenue exercise than genuine housing reform. So, what actually changed? Let me keep it very simple. From 1st of July 2027, the current 50% capital gains discount is expected to be replaced by a model called as indexation. Now, in plain English, if you hold an investment property for more than 12 months, only 50% of your profit gets taxed. And it's a simple system, easy to understand, easy to calculate. Under the proposed model, instead of getting a flat 50% discount, your purchase price gets added to the inflation first, and then you pay the tax on everything what you make. And to make it worse, there is discussion around a minimum of 30% tax applying to the gains. The second point is the negative gearing. If these proposed changes go through, established properties purchased after the implementation date, which was yesterday, will no longer receive any negative gearing benefits. New builds may still be qualifying for this. Established houses, a complete different story. Now, immediately people hear this and think, oh great, investors will stop buying and houses will become affordable. But I don't think it's that simple. Why this may not help young Australians? This part, I want all young Australians to think very carefully. I'm talking as one of them because I started investing in myself when I was quite young. I understand how important these incentives can be when you're trying to build something from scratch. Now, here's an interesting point. Most existing investors are likely to be grandfathered with the current rules, meaning they keep their existing benefits. They're not going to be forced to sell the properties, and many may actually hold tighter than before. So what happens to you now? The supply tightens even further. At the same time, new investors entering the market suddenly face a much harder environment. Higher holding costs, more tax uncertainty, and less incentives for people to sell. And when investing becomes harder, what usually happens to rents? They rise. And as it is, there is so much shortage of rental properties out there. So rents are going to rise maybe in few months' time because investors still need to make the numbers work. So while the intention may be affordability, the unintended consequence can be higher rents, much tighter supply, and even harder pathway for young Australians trying to save a deposit because they have to pay for these higher rents as well. And frankly, that's the irony in all of this, the bigger economic question. And here's the bigger conversation nobody seems to be having right now. Australian economy is heavily driven by investors, not just one or two property investors, the business owners, share investors, developers, entrepreneurs. These are people taking risks, building assets, creating housing supply, and contributing to the broader economy. Now, smart investors won't stop investing. They will adapt, they will restructure, and they will speak to their accountants. They might look into different options. Like I know there is some changes coming up trust, but companies, maybe they might get into commercial properties, developments, new builds. All these sophisticated investors will find ways to reposition themselves. But who struggles the most? That is the everyday Australian who is trying to buy their first or second investment properties so they can have a set life towards their retirement. They are the people who are going to feel this the hardest in the months or years to come. Now, what should you do? Now, before everyone starts panicking, let me say this very clearly. The property investing in Australia is not dead. Markets change, governments change, policies will change, and this has happened again and again. But the strategy now becomes even more important than before. You need to understand what structures would suit you, whether new builds make more sense for you. You have to understand how the tax impacts your long-term plan and what kind of assets still work for you in these changing conditions. And most importantly, don't make emotional decisions based purely on the headlines what you're seeing. I have been in this industry long enough to see the markets go through all kinds of cycles. The people who usually come out ahead are not the loudest ones you see on Facebook or Instagram. They are the ones who adapt early and position themselves properly. If these changes do happen, the question isn't should I invest? The real question what you have to think about is, do I have the right strategy moving forward? If you've got your thoughts on this, drop them in the comments. I would genuinely love to know what you think of Australian property market and what it looks like in the next 5 to 10 years.